Smart point snapping is arguably one of the most useful categories in the snapping palette. When enabled, it allows you to temporarily acquire a point so that you can align to it horizontally, vertically, or at any specific angle. To set a smart point, simply hold your cursor over an object snapping point for a set number of seconds, or press the T key. You will see a small box around the snapping point to delineate that a smart point has been acquired. Vectorworks can remember up to 3 smart points, and then as new points are acquired, the oldest points are replaced. You can also manually release a smart point by holding your cursor over the desired smart point for a set number of seconds, or by pressing the T key again. You will see that the small box around the object's snap point disappears once the smart point is released. Keep in mind that smart points can only be acquired based on existing snap points, so for that reason you must have at least Snap to Object enabled in the snapping palette to use smart points. Now that we have a general understanding of how smart points work, let's take a look at the additional options in Smart Cursor Settings dialog box. You can access these options by double-clicking the Smart Points category in the snapping palette, or by going to Tools, Smart Cursor Settings. Here we can customize how the smart points and extension lines behave. This first option, Horizontal Vertical Extensions, when enabled, will display the extension line, which is this dashed line, when the cursor is aligned horizontally or vertically to a smart point. This also applies to X, Y, and Z direction alignments when in a 3D view. Next, with the extension lines option enabled, when you are drawing at a snap angle like the default 30 degrees, an extension line will be created from a smart point when your cursor is aligned perpendicular to that smart point. If this option is not checked, you'll see that there is no snapping feedback when your cursor reaches perpendicular to the smart point. Snap to Line between smart points, as you would expect, snaps to the extension line between 2 smart points. This is not restricted to just smart points on one particular plane. As you can see, I've acquired smart points from 2 different planes, and the extension line is still created between the 2 points. Next, Allow Extensions from Nearby Smart Points will allow extension lines to be created from smart points that are located near the cursor. By default, this option is deselected, as it can cause confusion or inaccurate snapping when working in cluttered drawings. The Acquire Smart Point option allows you to set how long your mouse must be stopped over a snap point in order to acquire a smart point. Remember, you can always use the T key to manually acquire or release a smart point. Just like the Acquire Smart Point option, the Set Datum option lets you set the amount of time your cursor must be stopped over a snapping point to create a floating datum point. A datum is a special point that can be set temporarily to create a new origin for snapping or measuring purposes. You can always manually acquire or release a datum point by pressing the G key. Last, the Datum Offset option allows you to set a specific offset distance from your temporary datum. A circular extension marker around the floating datum point delineates this offset. This can be used in place of snap to distance if you use distance snapping infrequently during your drafting process. That covers it. Smart point snapping is one of the most useful snapping categories in the snapping palette. It makes for quick drafting relative to existing geometry, and for most users should always remain enabled.